Sorry about that. I had a hard time getting on. I didn't think I was going to get on there for a minute.
Well, it's weird because there's just all this weird hacking that's going on with Zoom. I was kind of telling people that before, like they're changing up kind of like their security policy on July 19th because I think there's
Oh,
just
really?
too much going on. Yeah. So it's all good.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, good. Good. I'm able to get on, thankfully. Did you get, first of all, how is everybody doing today? Thank you for joining us. Um,
Yeah.
uh, I sent you two email filings.
Yep, I got them.
Um, those I'd like to talk about today because these two filings are, especially this one agreement, and I posted it to my page yesterday. And it is from Perkins Coie LLP. And this is an agreement. Now, yesterday there was a Oregon Supreme Court ruling. A friend of mine that ruled against her, and this was Andy Beal and Beal Bank. Well, the firm that was going after her was this Perkins Coie, and so now she's already got filings in on the patents and trademarks against Beal Bank, but I just went to look for Perkins Coie, and Perkins Coie is loaded with patents and trademarks. And this is the one agreement that they have. This is a group of attorneys here. And this is probably the best agreement to show how, to really make it very clear how we are being exploited and how our names have been stolen from us. And this agreement is just absolutely beautiful and showing and demonstrating to everyone what they're doing here and how they're making use of us as this quote unquote grantor. Of course, we're the uninformed grantor in all cases here. So if you don't mind pulling that, make sure if you could just pull the agreement up if you could. And also the other thing that attaches to that is the actual trademark documents for Century Technology. Century Technology is an interesting group of people. Basically
which one do you want me to bring up? Which one do you want me to bring up first? The assignment.
Bring up the trademark. Yes,
okay.
yes. Bring up the assignment if you would, please.
Okay.
And just kind of page. And this exemplifies everything that we need to target here. And this is a security interest. Now, understand that this is not an agreement that Century Technology is in with Perkins Coie as much as Perkins Coie and Century Technology are in bed together on these things. Now, Century Technology is a blockchain technology that operates through information and creates a trust environment, okay, a secure trust environment. But understand the way that these guys are operating on, everything that we're dealing with here is stolen identity and control of information and information databases. So it's a control of workflow. So at the end of the day, really, no matter what we're talking about here, whether it be mortgages, whether it be cars, whether it be school loans, whether it be anything, it's all based on the theft of identity and the theft of name and impersonation, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're impersonating us. And this agreement, I mean, just page down through this thing and look at this thing. And if you can page down to like I guess it would be page 2 or 3. Yeah, next page and then stop. There you go, right up in there. Go up a little bit further. Okay, there you go. Okay, so the header of this is security agreement dated 2019 between a Delaware corporation, the grantor, and Perkins Coie LLP. Page up a little bit more, or page up a little bit more to the definition section. And look what we're talking about here. We're talking about commercial, we're talking about so we're talking about UCC, we're talking about accounts, shadow paper, deposit accounts, document electronic shadow paper, equipment, general intangibles, goods, healthcare insurance receivables, which would really perk up everyone's ears, instruments, inventory, investment property, letter of credit, rights, and payment intangibles, supporting obligations. Understand that these are all your accounts. Anything that your name is attached to, we have ownership of. Why is that? Because we have ownership of that all caps name. That all caps name is our property. It belongs to us. It would not exist if it was not for us. We're the ones that gave that all caps name existence. And that is, after all, the credit and the credit, the capital, the collateral that drives the entire system. So when we go down and look at the definition of collateral, What does it say? It means all property, real, personal, and mixed, intangible and intangible, wherever located. So, whatever jurisdiction, whether it be in Oregon, whether it be in New York, whether it be in Florida, whether it be in Timbuktu, is what they mean by wherever located. Now owned or after acquired by grantor, or in which grantor has later obtains an interest. Now, what that means is, what they're talking about there is anything that our name is attached to. So people ask the question very often ask the question, well, where can I find my name attached to these trademarks? And you won't find your name attached to any of these trademarks, nor the patents. The caveat here, the little couple words that is the key to focus in and lock in on here is that our name is used in connection, quote unquote, in connection to the goods, products, services, and patents of others. So that could be by well, right here, it could be by electronic chattel paper. It could be by a deposit account. It could be by inventory, like a warehouse receipt or something of that nature, a letter of credit. So this is what we're talking about here. So you're not going to find your name in patents and trademarks. You got to keep in the back of your mind that you're attached to it. And that's a little secret. That's kind of a sneaky little thing to do, isn't it? Because we don't know all the products that we're attached to, do we? We have no idea. Because first of all, none of us have really put our eyes and our mind to trademarks nor to patents, because we've been diverted elsewhere. We've been diverted to believe that we have to go through the court system, or that we're fighting a mortgage, defending a mortgage loan, or default and foreclosure, right? So our attention has been, as often done, is put in another direction. And what we need to do is we need to put our direction on patents and trademarks, because this is where we can destroy these guys. But they've had a clear reign for 20 years. Look what they've done in 20 years. Look at the state of the world that's in right now. It refers to later obtains an interest. Okay, all products. Okay, so all products are referring to no matter what products, goods, services of trademarks connected to, whether that be Ocwen, whether it be GM Technologies, whether it be Perkins Coie, whether it be Andy Beal Bank. So that's referring to the products, all the profits, the rents, and the proceeds. Okay, the rents and proceeds refers to our real property, which we do not have ownership of. They stripped the ownership of us and made us tenants, and thereby collecting rents and the proceeds from those rents and the properties, including accounts, chattel paper, deposit accounts, documents, so on and so forth. General intangibles, including payment intangibles, goods, healthcare insurance receivables. That should really perk up everybody's interest, especially with what's going on right now with the healthcare system as it's being stressed and strained right now, and the fact that we discovered that we really don't have a public health system in place, do we? And there's a reason why we don't have a public health care system installed. And this agreement should be able to tell you why we don't have a health care or a public health system, or any kind of system really of infrastructure that is solid in place. Why? Because people like Perkins Coie or Perkins Coie are impersonating us. And what are they doing? They're gutting the entire system, aren't they? Do you see that within this agreement? I mean, does that starting to make sense to people? Can people? Do you see that in there?
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at, I can't really change my screen, but I was going to go look up the definition of chattel paper and what that is, because it's listed twice. There's chattel paper, and then it comes into electronic chattel paper. And I'm like, right. I wonder exactly how they're using that word. With a chattel, is commodity, right? It's like,
yep.
And
that's what we are. We're a fungible commodity. And that's what they've turned us into. So when you think of electronic chattel paper, I like to think of it as electronic business objects. So that's what they've done. So if you take let's use a real property as an example. You and I are under the impression that this is a negotiable instrument, meaning that it's a complete 100% package, and it's sold as that. It's sold as 100% signed, sealed, and delivered package, and that's not the case at all. The fact of the matter is, the truth of the matter is that they've taken that real property and they've exploded it into dozens, if not hundreds, of different deeds, different rights, and different interests in the property, and they converted all those things to electronic business objects. I take it back, electronic tradable business objects, and that's what I kind of like to think of when I see the term electronic chattel paper. And so that's how they're operating on these, is under that. You know, and then you get down to the copyright. So you talk about copyright means any copyright or masked work. What's a masked work? A masked work is an impersonation work, really. It's masked. It's a work that's masked to appear to be something other than what it actually is. So I mean, you can almost take that and use and define that as these electronic business objects that are a part of something bigger and greater, but is masked to appear to be something else, whether it be some kind of abstraction of some sort. Go ahead, if you could page on the next page, please. Okay, intellectual property. This groups everything together. So this groups together patents, copyrights, and trademarks. One thing that's not in here that I don't see in here. Oh no, it is in here. I take it back. Number B, or letter B, is trade secrets and intellectual property rights in computer and computer software products now or later existing, created, acquired, or held. Okay, what does that mean? That means that the Century Technology is what? It's a computer database. It's an information storehouse. It's workflow. Okay, that's created. So you've got all these different databases that they're creating. So what they've done here is they've created a clusterfuck, pardon my French, of databases, and they're always shifting things around, because they're always moving things around. Why? Because anytime they move things around, what are they doing? They're creating new value within these things, right? And that's how they're operating. And because they control all these electronic technologies, the patents and trademarks, we're enslaved within them. And until we put our eyes on these things and realize what these sons of bitches have done to us, we're going to just keep going on the path we're going right now. We can't do that anymore, can we? We've got to do something about what's going on here, because the world's going down the toilet real fast. And these guys are, and I have a theory on what's going on with this COVID thing. And whether you like my opinion or not, that's fine, but I'm just going to decide what my opinion is on this. I think the COVID thing is very, very real. I think that it is not over. I'm not going to say it's not overblown. I'm not going to say it's underblown, but I do think it's very, very real. And I think Donald Trump is the closing agent that puts us into an autocratic welfare state, essentially, that is in conflict with one another. And I say that for several reasons. I say that because mainly for one of the reasons I say that's because of what's in his contract. What they're referring to in his contract, when they refer to healthcare receivables and all this information there. We don't have control of our society, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have control of it. And whether we place it in the hands of Donald Trump, or whether we place it in the hands of Biden, or whoever we place it in the hands of it doesn't matter, because unless we do something, you and I individually, to counteract this, we're just going to keep going. We're going to end up in a very sorry state, and we're getting there very fast on these things. You know, understand something, that we do not have control. We have control of nothing. Attorneys are controlling this, not only this state, my county, this state, this nation, and this world, and they have complete control of it through patents and trademarks, and it's all operating under the premise of the Commonwealth. And of course, when you talk about Commonwealth, you're talking about common law, and people complain, we don't have common law anymore. They've killed common law. That's absolutely, they've killed common law, but we don't want common law. We really don't. Common law is what's really getting us in trouble here, because they're not recognizing how they're separating common law, and how they're destroying us, and how they're capturing us, and how they're doing that. Well, if we do have common law, then that's to say that I am the owner of all rights, title, interest, and the sole beneficiary of my all capitalized name and all assets and properties there too, unencumbered by that it is unencumbered except for liens permitted by law, which would be a mortgage, but also which includes presumptions of voluntary agreement. And that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with the presumption that we voluntarily agreed to pledge all rights, title, and interest of our name to a nominated agent, which is the attorneys. So they have, and that's exactly what's going on here. It's
well,
a simple.
you know, yeah, there's also too, people don't realize, like under common law, traditional common law, because most people haven't studied it properly, but women are not free under common law. We're free under the copy-pasted Constitution of the Incorporated America, supposedly, but under common law, we still are underneath white male slave owners. White male slave owners actually own everything. And so if a woman wanted, you know, things properly done legally, we have to actually have a male representative, a white male slave owner representative, actually submit our legal documents. Otherwise, the courts can refuse to look at them, because
Oh,
under
that's
the law,
interesting.
yeah, under the law that we're using, we're still considered property. And so people don't really realize why
Interesting.
common law doesn't work. It's because they don't really understand it. You know, they haven't really actually gone in there and really looked at it. And the other thing with common law is that it is legal for a 14-year-old girl to be married off. And there are things about
That's
common
interesting. Well, that's
law
interesting. Good.
that are not good either, you know? So we have to figure
Well,
out what we're,
that kind of goes into that, that kind of goes into Pizzagate to some degree, or in that
oh
realm, put it that way.
yeah, it's
You
entitlement.
know, that kind of does go into that. If you
Yeah,
go down to the next page, if you would,
I will.
and I want to show you what they're doing here. So what they're doing here is that they're impersonating us. Okay, what this agreement is, and this is what's really important to understand, is that, you know, we don't know about this stuff, do we? We're just learning about it. And so what they're doing is they've created these idyllic one-sided agreements for themselves, wherein you and I, as the grantor, have certain duties that we are to perform. But, well, how can we perform these duties when we have not been informed of these duties? It's impossible, right? It's absolutely impossible. So what they've done here is they've created themselves a perfect one-sided system designed and engineered to their specific needs, to their specific wants, to fully exploit and control us. And this says here at the top of letter E, control. Now it says right here, grantor, that's you and me, must cooperate with Perkins in obtaining control with respect to collateral consisting of deposit accounts and so on and so forth. So what they're saying here is they're saying that you and I are going to provide the signatures to Perkins and QE and cooperate with them and give them all the signatures that they need. But of course, we're not doing that because why? Because they stole our identity. So they're impersonating us. They're putting our signatures to whatever the hell they want to put it to fit their needs, to suit their needs. Maintenance of records. Now, this is part of our responsibility under this new system as the grantor, and this is why trademarks and patents are so important. We're responsible for maintaining the currency of trademarks that we're attached to. So any trademark that we're attached to. So in other words, if we go out and buy a GM car, it's incumbent upon us to register our name with that trademark. So that why? Because we're the actual lender we're the actual funder, lender, secured party creditor. So it's incumbent upon us to maintain the current status of records, the current status of patents and trademarks to everything that we're attached to. But again, we don't know these things, do we? So they're doing these things for us, and they're manipulating it however they see to their own needs. And this is how really this whole thing goes on. So you go down to indemnification. Okay, here's what we agree to pay, indemnify Perkins and from all liabilities and so on and so forth. And this agreement is I would encourage everybody to spend time and read this agreement. This is a slave agreement in no simple terms otherwise. This is a slave agreement. This is an agreement that specifically lays out every detail of how they control us, and this has to be stopped. And we do have the ability to stop this. Now, we're not talking about, no matter what else you think about all these other things that encompass this stuff, this all comes down to this agreement. It comes down to one simple fact, and it's a simple fact of we have to make a recording into patents and trademarks, and we have to, that nullifies presumption of voluntary agreement. Now, it's very simple to do because and I've read a lot of district long pieces and affidavits of trying to revoke and rebut presumption of voluntary agreement. This is very simple it's very simply rebuttable in this case because it's indisputably impossible for anyone to voluntarily agree to anything that you'd have no knowledge of, and especially in this case, which is, go ahead.
Yeah, can Liz raise her hand so she has something to say? Just FYI.
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify. when you're talking about these, that we have to take control by, we have to file into the USPTO, we can't do anything through the court system, correct? And
No.
it would be harmful to us if we did.
Yep. Yeah, there's nothing we could do through the court system. This is all operating on contracts. Well, you can see right here. I mean, within these contracts, if you really dug into the depth of these contracts, I'm sure this is where the revenue streams are being fed
Right.
to the judges with annuities, and where fees are being provided to the sheriff's department for throwing us out. Or for issuing a writ of assistance or whatever they operate on to evict us. All that's within this. No, there's nothing that we can do in the court system.
So,
there's absolutely nothing we can do in the court system because the court. Okay, go ahead.
I just was saying that the one thing that bothers me is that I see so many comments on various Facebook pages about, going to the court system or common law juries and all this other noise that is going to be harmful to the rest of us that are trying to do this right.
Well, I mean, that's why a whole bunch of people in common law went to jail. There's like about 20 of them that have been pushing a lot of this stuff for the last 20 years. They're all sitting in federal prison right now. So a lot of these people don't understand that the paperwork that they've been using could get you, it could be a serious problem for everybody.
Well, the other side of that too, though, is that those who are of the sovereign citizen mentality, I know it's a contradiction in terms, we won't go down that rabbit hole, but it concerns me to think that there will be those who will take this concept that you're presenting and then try to do an end run through the court system, which is, I mean, that's suicide. But,
well, it is suicide.
And it will also put the rest of us in jeopardy because it's just another.
No, I don't think it will. I don't think it will because this is way different. This is way different than what the common law those people are doing.
I know
what we're doing here. And I think that people have learned a lesson. I think that people have learned a lesson too. I mean, with Bruce Doucette and the people in Colorado that got thrown in prison like that, I think that basically has at least tamed the aggressiveness of that movement.
Right. Well, and I think the courts are different.
May I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying that this is just another opportunity that they would have to label us as a sovereign citizen, and then with the laws that are in place right now, they could just scoop us up and put us where.
Well, I got to disagree with that. I disagree with that wholeheartedly because what we're doing here, and I'll tell you why. What we're doing here is we're just making a simple recording. All we're doing, we're following their documents to the letter, except we're reversing them. You got to remember something. The premise of every one of these agreements and patents and trademarks is based on this, and it was based on the one document that we went through last week, which was the simplest document that there is that shows that acknowledges that we are the owners of all rights, title, and interest, and we're the sole beneficiary. But for the fact that we pledged all rights, title, and interest to whomever. Okay, so when these banks or attorneys or law firms or whomever are making these recordings to patents and trademarks, they're making that acknowledgement, and they're saying somewhere within that agreement, they're saying that we request that the Commissioner of Patents and Trademarks make the notations as stated in herein, so that they allocate the accounts and to the letter of their agreement. So all we are doing is coming in here and saying, yes, here I am. I'm the natural person, a living body of matter that belongs to that all capitalized name out there that I'm reigning in as mine. And in so doing, I am indisputably revoking all presumption and all imposed presumptions of pledges.
Mm-hmm.
And we request that the Commissioner of Patents and Trademarks make the following corrections. And the other thing too, as I was talking to somebody. Hold on a second. hold on a second. That cannot possibly be confused with anything in sovereign citizen. It can't be, because this is just a simple business thing that we're doing. And I think that's the way we got to
And
keep it. If we
yeah,
keep it
another
that
thing
way,
too is
then
if
it's
you
fine.
tried to go into the courts, with some kind of resolution for patents, copyrights, and trademarks, the courts would say you need to go to the copy, patent, and trademark office to settle this first, right?
So
So
they're not even
Yeah,
going to
you're
say
the
that
Rogers.
because I'm still in court, and I've included some attachments to
Yeah,
my brief, but they're not gonna, they're just gonna look at it and say, well, I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't see it. And anyway,
well,
I,
well, of course they are. That's how the courts operate. You know that, and I know that. They're going to do it. The courts are going to do what they're going to do what they're going to do until somebody finally stops them. That's what's going to happen here. And,
Well,
and they're going to, because of their arrogance, and because they think they have the power. But you take this. But first of all, civil law is not patent and trademark law. Totally different thing. Totally different body of law. And there's no way that, yeah, I agree. There's no way you can win in the court. The court's going to do what they're going to do. The only way to get rid of a court case is to file within patents and trademarks, because you're widening. You've heard me talk about this before, about the sphere of knowledge. Okay, the sphere of knowledge in a court case is particular to what? It's particular something that they're trying to settle on, that they're trying to get from you. So that does not include the equitable side of this thing at all. And of course, the court will not allow you to bring that into this thing, number one. Number two, you've got the contract itself. When we're talking about a mortgage loan, which itself is an unimpeachable contract, that was deemed as such by the court system. And of course, it is a compromised agreement, but that was standing, because it's been deemed as unimpeachable. You can't even introduce anything, any kind of defense or any kind of any information about the contract itself. So you're dead in the water in the court system. Absolutely dead in the water. There's nothing you can do. You might as well just turn your back to the court system and run everything through patents and trademarks.
yeah, I just hope that everybody listening in on this call and friends that are advised about it, that they would just say, look, forget the court system, forget all this, everything you learned about sovereign citizen, whatever you want to call it, by whatever name you want to call it. It isn't, we're conducting business here. We're not fighting, we're not being belligerent or anything like that.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with it. We're not crossing that line. You do what you're going to do. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and we'll see who comes out ahead.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I'm sitting 12 feet away from my mentor, who was not only a common law court marshal, who would serve judges and served attorneys in Arkansas, but he sat on the common law court in Arkansas. And like he always says, we need to stay out of the admiralty courts. No matter how we do that, we have to stay out of them, because we're not going to be able to win. They're not going to accept anything from us other than exactly what they want. And what they want is our, slavitude, and us to pay them, for their time, basically. So, and they have a lot to lose. The admiralty law courts have a lot to lose, because every time we go in there, every time there's a ruling, every time we submit paperwork, they make money on that. They're creating mutual funds, and they're creating derivatives, and they're pulling out.
And that's a good point. That goes back to this agreement. Let's take it back to the agreement that you got presented here. Basically, what they've engineered here is they've engineered our existence to be for their pleasures and profits. So anytime we file a court case, or anytime we do anything, they're getting paid for it. So I mean, anytime we do anything of that nature, we're contributing to what they've already engineered for us to be.
Well, we're creating assets for them too every time that we step foot in their court and do anything there.
Well, they're also creating assets they're creating multiple assets, multiple annuities and insurances and businesses. I mean, look at all these technology businesses, these information warehouses. Look at CoreLogic, for instance. Now, CoreLogic is a spinoff of First American Financial, right? They've got there's probably about 20 or 30 different subsidiaries of CoreLogic right now. And every single one of them, what are they? There's no hard assets to any one of these. None whatsoever. No tangible assets whatsoever. The only tangible ability of it is the buildings that they're in. But other than that, what grew that business is information, are all the intangible assets, which is what? Which is our all capitalized name. If they spun into all these different other business methods and ways to exploit us and profit from us, right? So that's what they're doing here. You know, so no, there's nothing we can do in the court. There's nothing at all we can do in the court. And you also have the premise here, or I guess the belief, the false belief that if you're in default and you're fighting a foreclosure, that you're naturally just seen as a deadbeat liar and a cheat. Right there, you don't have a chance of in hell. And that's one of the biggest problems here. Now, what if everybody was to understand that? Wait a minute, these are not debt instruments; these are investment contracts. That would change everybody. That would turn a tail on all this stuff, wouldn't it? But we're a long way from doing that, unfortunately. But I think, you know, we talk about common law grand juries. I think the way to get there is to do what we're doing here, because that's going to be a natural outcropping of calling bullshit and calling heads on these agreements. I think when we do these things, what's going to happen is it's going to naturally expose these things. It's going to expose the corruption. I think that common law grand juries then will become a natural outcropping of that. Whereas in Colorado, they tried really enforcing that and pounding on the door, and it didn't work on them. So I think what we have to do here first is we have to show the damages and show what is actually being done here. We're not really doing that in the court system, are we? And by banging on the door and banging our heads against the door to insist on these common law grand juries, you know, we're fighting people that look back at these groups as being sovereign citizens and troublemakers and, you know, committing fraud and everything. Well, what if it was a natural outcropping of that? What if it was just naturally just evolved? Okay, and I think that by doing what we're talking about here, I think that can naturally evolve itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, like, you just have to wake people up, because a common law court grand jury would be the people in that local community where those things are
Right.
happening that decide to sit, you know, and, you know, make decisions. So you have to get people interested in actually doing this and taking responsibility for it and participating, because you're not going to be able to hire people to do it until people are motivated.
But I think you need to have the you need to have the support of communities, and I don't think there's a lot of support there because of the fact that the sovereign movement has been blackballed and blacklisted, and also because they've got scars on their name, or the scars on that agenda through Colorado and what happened there and other places. You know, so the interest of local government.
But I have to say, like, my group, common law group here that was started, that helped me. We don't have a lot of those other problems that other people have, but we haven't, you know, we haven't made up our own stuff. So that's another thing.
But you're still pounding on the door of people that don't want to listen. Well, you know, if going about this way, and people start to see and realize, holy shit, look at these agreements here. My God, this is not just, they're not deadbeats. This is not just happening to them. This is happening to me as well. You know, so I think that's the key to this thing is to widen the knowledge of this, so that people understand that, hey, these are investment contracts. Here's the agreement right here. This agreement right here. You read this agreement, you're the grantor of this, and I think this wakes up a lot of people to realize the fact, oh my God, this is happening to me, because, you know, you got these people that working at the county. Do they make a lot of money? Oh no, they don't make a lot of money. And of course, in this day and time, they do everything they can to hold on to their job. You know, so in my opinion, if I was one of them and I came across this, or somebody realized that what's going on here, I'd be a little pissed, because I'm a participant to it, but two, because I'm part of a government that has been deceived. Is that now? Is that?
Yeah, no, there was a huge movement in the IRS a while back over the last 20 years where people that are supposed to be carrying out the laws, and then they get questioned on them, they go find out that there is no law, that they were told that was a law, then they end up leaving the IRS, and then they end up consulting and whistleblowing, you know, on the side, you know, that the IRS is not you know, that there is no law requiring people to pay tax. I mean, that's fact.
Hey, can I just ask one little thing? You know, you're talking about common law here, and to the best of my knowledge, the founding documents never talked about common law, although they did talk about natural law, and those are two different things. So I don't know what we're resolving
Yes.
going to common law at all, because common law
No.
is British law.
Right.
Our,
Well,
and our current legal system is based on canon law, which is the Vatican. So I don't see where there's any benefit at all to have common law anything. Let's get
well,
back to
there
natural.
isn't. There isn't. You're right. There isn't. I mean, there isn't. I mean, really, what you're doing here and what they've done to drive this wedge between us is that common law and putting intermediaries, and that's exactly what they've done here. Have they not? I mean, this agreement. What does this agreement say? This agreement puts an impersonator that's impersonating us between our all capitalized name and our upper lowercase name. So I mean, so what common law, all common law has done is kept us in union with England. Not with the union between our body and soul, which is where we need to get. And so that's the second step of this. The first step in patents and trademarks is to reassign everything back to us and to eliminate all these intermediaries and interlopers that are impersonating us. And then the second part of that is to merge our names together so that that it's impossible, absolutely impossible for any intermediaries to get involved in between us. So what we want to get back to is we want to get back to the natural law and the eternal law. And I'm glad you brought it up, Liz, because I would encourage everybody, highly encourage everybody. I've spent a lot of time over the past couple of years and in the past couple of weeks I've dug even deeper into the Summa Theologia. And I tell you, it's a fascinating study into what is going on here with all the metaphysics. And what do I mean by metaphysics? These are just different scenarios that are conjured from a person's mind that are brought to fruition. But when you follow that to its end, it doesn't really exist. And it certainly doesn't exist to our being, but to somebody else, but to a being of our name, of like name, but it's not us, but it's somebody else. It's impersonating us. Somebody else that is put some kind of a metaphysical scenario in place, whether it be psychological or philosophical, and that's what this whole system is operating on. So what we want to get back to is we want to get back to the eternal law and divine law and natural law and exit this system. And you know, I'm going to post a whole series of.
There's a really great book by a guy named Joseph P. Farrell, and he's written like 27 books, but it's called Babylon's Bankers. And he talks about the alchemical processes that they've been using on finances for the last 3,000 years. And so he puts all the terminology in there and all the languaging. It's actually a mind-blowing book. I highly recommend it.
Well,
highly.
Can I just say this, and then I'm going to leave and let you guys. But I just wanted to basically tell everybody, common law equals commonwealth, and if you want to be in bed with the Queen of England, have at it. But I'm exiting.
Yep. That's what we all got to do. We all got to exit. You got to get in to get out, right? And that's what we need to do. I mean, there's a Genesis song for the carpet crawlers, and the theme of the song is you got to get in to get out. And that's exactly right. You know, people say, oh, we don't want to get it. You know, we got to get away from the system. We got to get away from the system. First, we got to get into this system. First, we got to recognize this. We got to recognize some very basic facts and truths, which I think people have backwards. One, that all capitalized name is not a fiction. It is not theirs. It is ours. It would not exist if it were not for our first breaths that created it. So we do have rights to that. So we get to recognize some of these basic facts that also too, that yes, we are not per se a corporation, but we are the stock owners of a corporation, of all the corporations that they attach our names to. They are the stockholders, we're the stock owners. Okay. We are not a debt slave by no means. The only reason why we're debt slaves is for the very agreement that you're reading right now, because they turned it around on us and said that, oh, you are the owner of all rights, title, interest. They acknowledge it themselves, but for the fact that, you know, that imposed pledge. So we got to recognize those couple basic facts there. And once we do that, we just execute through here as a normal business process. We jump in, we take ownership of the corporation, because we do have ownership of this corporation. We complain about corporations, bitch about corporations a lot. It's our corporations, for God's sakes. We're the stock owners of these corporations. It's time that we step up to the plate and take ownership of those things. number one. Now, going on to the second thing, in regards to Summa Theology, I want to read a part from the Eternal Law that I read a piece on the Eternal Law. This is what it talks about. They're talking about whether the Eternal Law is the sovereign type existing in God. And there's a comment here that says, just as in every artificer, there pre-exists a type of things that are made by his art. So too, in every governor, there must pre-exist the type of the order of those things that are be done by those who are subject to his government. And just as the type of the things yet to be made by an art is called the art or exemplar of the products of that art, so too the type in him who governs the acts of his subjects bears the character of a law, provided the other conditions be present, which I mentioned in a separate section. Now God, by his wisdom, is the creator of all things in relation to which he stands as the artificer to the products of his art. Moreover, he governs all acts and movements that are to be found in each single creature, as was also stated in the section. Wherefore, as the type of divine wisdom, inasmuch as by it all things are created, as the character of art, exemplar of or idea, so the type of divine wisdom, as moving all things to their due end, bears the character of law. Accordingly, the eternal law is nothing else than a type of divine wisdom as directing all actions and movements. So they're making two comparisons. They're talking about the art of government, which is what? Which is these patents and trademarks. Patents and trademarks are an art. And if you open up any one of these patents, somewhere within that patent, you're going to find those familiar with the art will find many uses for this invention. So they are using art to control us and to control us through the government. But we've got to realize that below that art is who's the one that created us? Is God. God's the one that's created us. And his art is immutable, is it not? It's not the government that's immutable, it's his. So that's what I think that's what Liz is saying, and that's where we kind of got to go to move beyond common law and get to this point of eternal law. And all this stuff that we're talking about, patents and trademarks, it is all heavily all based on the Summa Theologia and the concepts thereunder in terms of metaphysics. Now, that being said, I've also found some pretty interesting things having to do with treaties and things going way back. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of years that are still kind of on the books today, only because they've incorporated into this. It's kind of like they hid the fact that they created a new paradigm here. They got us believing that it's an old paradigm is still existing, right? And of course, that's been gone for 20 years now. So they've incorporated this new paradigm, which is all patent-based and automated processes-based and everything. So it's kind of like they took everything from the past 3,000 years, things that don't even exist anymore, haven't existed in thousands of years, and they all threw it in a bucket. And that's what it's all through in the mix here, and they're exercising every one of these processes. Why? Because nobody's looking at it. None of us are looking at it, and they're getting away with it. So we need to focus our attention. We need to get beyond the fact that yes, the court is not going to help us at all. No way are they going to help us. We need to take back, and we can't put our faith in Donald Trump. We can't put our faith in Biden. We can't put our faith in any of these politicians. The responsibility lies with each and every one of us. We do have the power to seize back our rights and seize back our ownership, and we got to do it. And we have to start acting quickly on this because this world's going to crap, isn't it?
Hey, Ken, you might want to check the chat. Check the chat real quick. I can't do everything. I've got the people, I've got the screen share, but
okay.
Can you check the chat just to see? I think there's been like 3 posts, I think maybe.
Okay.
You might have some questions in there.
Okay, I'm trying to find it here. Okay, this group chat, there it is. Okay. I see. I'm just seeing all rights reserved. Okay, that's all I'm seeing. I'm not really seeing anything.
Okay. All right. So I guess there's just was blinking. So I just wanted to make sure that people were, getting
Unless I'm
heard
doing
if
it
they
wrong
wanted to be
here.
heard. No, he's probably doing it all right.
Okay.
The other thing too is like, the native people, especially in Canada, had been alerted to what's going on. And I was on the outskirts working with some friends of mine who are working with a lot of the native people, the original chiefs in Canada. And they took their original records of their treaties of their lands, and they have actually moved forward through copywriting, trademark, and patent reclaiming their original recorded treatings, you know, like on the Wapen belts and, you know, things like that nature. And there
Yep.
are quite a few tribes in Canada who have actually you know, done everything and taken back their land territory, like the Squamish, and they have taken back their land territory that covers like a corner of Montana, the top part of Idaho, the top part of Washington, a little bit
Good.
of Alberta,
Good.
and then like half of you know, British Columbia. So they also now own the assets that are in the ground, and they're going to be in the future, you know, eliminating any government offices or agencies that have, you know, put their buildings on their land and offing them out as well. So
Good.
it's
Good.
just a long, slow process, but there are a lot of indigenous people who have already know what's going on with the copyrights, patents, and trades, and have already started moving within
And,
the last 10 years.
good. Good. And we got to understand that we're operating under international law. We're not operating under the laws of Oregon or the laws of the United States, really, per se, because we're marketed. We're trafficked all over the world. I mean, we're trafficked up through Texas. One of the routes is, and I've talked about this before, is through Texas, laundered through Texas, up through Canada, into the Queen of Parliament over to England. That's one route. Another route is down through Australia. I mean, so we're being laundered all over the place in multiple different locations simultaneously. So I mean, Sweden, we're laundering through Sweden. We're laundering through Norway. We're laundering. I mean, we're being laundered through every nation, and they're being laundered through us. And so there's when you talk about jurisdiction, where the hell is their jurisdiction? There is no jurisdiction, and that's what's abundantly. That's another reason why it's so important to go through the patents and trademarks, because that very clearly instantly kills the fact of any jurisdiction. There's no I mean, the only slice of jurisdiction that where I'm at here in Oregon is the slice that allows them to take my property away and give it to the state lands. By the way, when you point of note, when you know about it, it's going to the Veterans Administration. So when lands are taken away by foreclosure in states, they're going through the Veteran Affairs, I believe through BLM is where it's going. But that's the only slice that's here. All the other slices are spread throughout the nation, through New York, through California, through Florida, through all these other states, and all foreign nations. So where's the jurisdiction? There is no jurisdiction. As a matter of fact, there is no law. It's ambiguous. And see, that's the importance of standing within patents and trademarks. Because when you stand within in these two areas and you look around, you very quickly realize that, wait a minute, I'm being played here. There's no law here. These codes and statutes are not built to protect me. They're in place so that they can steal from me. And they're set up perfectly because it's engineered in patents and trademarks to use these codes and statutes as the business models for these criminal prick attorneys that have engineered a system to steal our lives away from us. And so the whole globe is under the control of the British Commonwealth and this idea of common law. And that's exactly what it is. They're keeping us in this system. And Liz is right. It's not for the common good. It's for the Commonwealth. And it's for the Commonwealth, the 1% that have the knowledge and are exploiting that knowledge and have lied to us and have deceived us into believing that we have some kind of system of justice here, or we have some kind of system of law, that we have any truth whatsoever. There is no truth. It's all lies. It's all deceptions. So what we have to do is we have to weed through the deception and literally just take everything that you thought you knew and just throw it out. Throw it out. Move over to patents and trademarks. You know, this agreement, I think, is a pretty clear-cut. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this agreement that she's got posted here, if you read through this thing, and we haven't gone through it all, but if you read through this thing, you gotta admit it's got to shake your world, and it's got to wake you up into some kind of reality of what's really going on here, and really concentrate your energies elsewhere. I think the one thing that really makes me angry about all this stuff is just that we waste time. Life is short, isn't it? And we've wasted time. We've been set up into a position to where we think what we're defending, or we think that we're doing things for the right and just a cause is just a waste of time, because it's all a lie. And that's what makes me mad. You know, they set us up into a position where we're just wasting time. Everything that we've done in the court system. I mean, I've been fighting. Finally over, but you know, when we first fought this thing for foreclosure, I fought it for years. And the first few years was fought by in the courts and by filing affidavits and doing all this stuff. You know, and looking back on it, it really pisses me off because I wasted a number of years doing stuff that was just a total waste of time. Aren't we tired of? Aren't we done with wasting our time?
Yeah,
Isn't everybody,
no,
isn't everybody
I,
tired of wasting our time?
yeah, no, that's the way I look at it. I spent 3 months with the state because I just wanted to, file my annual for my Corp Sol, and because they're
Uh-huh.
closed and a nightmare. I ended up driving down there to the Capitol and waiting outside the building until some of them left for lunch because you can't get a hold of them. You can't, you can't get any answers. You can't get anything done. So
Well, here's
I,
the thing,
I
but they're
literally went down there and stalked them and waited for them to leave the building to go to lunch. And then I cornered them with my paperwork and said, look, like you guys all of a sudden are changing your guidelines and laws. You won't show the paperwork. You won't do any of this other stuff. I can't get, things completed. I've spent, 3 months trying to deal with you people. And now with the COVID, they're like hidden behind closed door.
you can't deal
So
with them. But you can't deal with them anyhow because they're
you can't
incompetent.
deal with them at all either. Yeah.
No, you can't. I mean, we went down to the Secretary of State's office and met with a couple people down there. And it was set up through a state legislator friend of mine who set the meeting up. And these people are totally incompetent. They're trying to tell me that I can't make a UCC filing or UCC1 filing that claims my all capitalized name as assets. I said, you can't do that. They're not yours. I said, what are you talking about? So they're incompetent. These people are totally incompetent. So Amben, though, here's the thing about UCC1 filings. People that you have to file UCC1 filings. Do not file anything paper because it'll get rejected. Now I'm not talking. Now there's two kinds of UCC1 filings. So the kind of filings the sovereign citizens were doing, which were claiming birth certificates and filing liens on judges. That's a whole different matter. I'm talking about the UCC1 filings that I'm filing, which are just business filings, just claiming of assets, no personal information on it, no liens or anything other than on the bank and like MERS and the various technologies like Aquin and people that are involved with me. But because I attached the bank to it, they still have refused it. However, now electronically file everything. Now, if you go on Oregon's UCC1 and do a search on me, you'll find all my filings are all still there, but you'll also find something there that says that this filing it doesn't comply with Oregon section blah 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 having to do with collateral. And what it has to do with is we can't file, at least in Oregon, you can't file a lien on a bank. Well, bullshit. I filed it anyhow. Now it's still there. That UCC1 has not been removed. So if that UCC1 was fraudulent, this Secretary of State would have removed it, wouldn't they? They didn't remove it. It's still sitting there. So, if you're trying to do anything paper-wise, don't waste your time anymore, because even if you got something filed paper-wise, it's not going to matter because it's not going to go anywhere. We need to be within this electronic system. Okay, because this electronic system is an interstitial system where that is a true operation of everything. Anything outside of that is people that are either incompetent or are just lulled to sleep and have no knowledge of whatsoever. Everything that our system runs on runs within the realm of these patents and trademarks, and so this is the realm that we have to run in. And the only way to do that is to get into it by electronically through an electronic UCC filing and through the electronic submitting of all our assignments and mortgages and everything through the United States Patent and Trademarks Office. And keep in mind that, and you know what, let me show something real quick here. Let's get into this while I'm thinking about this. Let me get up, if I can find it here. Let me send you a link here to open up.
Are you sending it to me on Facebook or email?
Yeah, I'll just send it to you on Facebook. I want to show everybody because we haven't gone through this, and I think it's a good time to bring it up. I want to show people the link that needs to be brought up that we're going to be filing these electronic documents through, so that everybody can see what we're talking about here. I think it's a good time to bring that up finally.
So also
because we talk about doing all these
one of the things
Go
I
ahead.
think about a lot, and this is probably why I try to encourage people to teach classes and stuff that's going up on the internet, and also electronic filing or whatever else, wherever you can, is because if all these different companies are using AI systems, and these AI systems can be trained like people, and they only know this system and this input and what they're told. When this influx of stuff starts to go out onto the internet and they start to pay attention to the uploads on YouTube, because the AI goes through your whole upload, everything that's said and done, before it'll release it onto YouTube for the public. So when you're doing all this different stuff, we're actually also educating the AI system to
Yes,
see
we're
what's being
retraining it.
done,
Yes, retraining it.
so that they
Yes.
know what's been done, so that the AI has a bigger idea of what's happening here, not just like a small input from one section and what it was trained to believe. So I think it's important
Right.
to help
You're
the
right. You bring up a
AI
good
to
point.
develop itself.
Yes, we're retraining the AI, and it's very, very important. Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Okay, if you, that's one link there. If you can bring that
Yeah.
link up, let's just do a
Can you
walk
see
through that
it?
one. Hold on, I'm going to send you another one too.
Can you see this one? Can everybody see it? The electronic patent system. Can you see it now?
No, I'm not seeing it yet. I'm not seeing it yet on mine. Is everybody else seeing it? Oh, wait a minute, switch.
Hold on, let me drop this one. Okay, can you see it now? Oh, wait. I want to do this. Okay. Okay, so hold on.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me go back over here. Okay, can you see the patent? And let me go here. I'm gonna drop this one. Yeah, hold on. Let me drop that one, and then I can do this one. Okay. Oop, hold on a second. It's mad. It's getting cranky. Hold on a second. Let me go back to screen share. I have to go somewhere else.
Can't take a
I know. Okay, so here we have the electronic patent system. Can you see that
Beautiful.
now?
Beautiful. Okay. Pages. Okay, guys, ladies and gents, this is the page that you're going to start at in patents to make electronic assignments to. Okay, now we'll kind of, let's walk through it a little bit. We're going to go so far into it. Well, let's see how far we can walk into it. Page down, and it's walk you through how this goes. A page all the way down. You know this. We got to do the patent one for you yet, but you know this. Okay, please click here to eat past forms. Okay, then page down, and on the far left-hand side is the start. And click the start button. Okay, this is the big secret. This is the big trade secret, guys. We thought that all chains of titles were recorded to the county record. Wrong. Every single mortgage, page down if you would, every single mortgage, assignment, security interest, court order, mortgage, lien, license, option, everything has to go through this system right here. And it's been this way for 20 years. And nobody's known it, have you? They've kept this a secret from us. Everything goes through here. So all this stuff is where this goes. Now let's go through, if you can go up to the top, let's just kind of just walk through this. We can kind of walk through to a certain degree until we get to the money part, or until we get to a submitting part of the document. Go ahead and click assignment. And this is kind of just walk through a couple steps of this thing, so you get an idea of what we're doing here. Click the circle there, yes. And then go down to the bottom and click the next screen. Okay, so this is the correspondence section here. This is a section that, well, just who the person to contact is. So if you wouldn't mind, just go ahead, Bridget. You can put my name if you want to put my name in, or put whatever in, and just fill out an address so we can kind of, yeah, just use your, just a page through thing. Okay, you can go to the next screen now. So that's just the contact information. Okay, now the conveying party. Okay, now let's go to the Perkins Coie here. If you look at that agreement, who's the conveying party? The conveying party is the grantor or the assigner, right? That's who the conveying party is. Now, understand what they've done here. Now, the way that they've used this system is because, remember, we don't know about this, right? We think that we're in the old paradigm where everything's being recorded through the county, right? So we're thinking something completely different. So what they're doing is, because they stole their identity, they're impersonating us as the conveying party here. Okay, so the conveying party here is going to be, in this case, it's going to be a company, and that company is going to be the all capitalized name. Yeah, I put that whole thing, just click that whole thing there. What you got there, that's perfect. That's exactly what, okay, perfect. Now what it says, what she says there is, and this is, when we talk about what the all capitalized name represents, it represents a lot of things. Okay, it represents an unregistered trade name. It represents a single name LLC in some cases. In some cases, it represents a sole proprietorship. In some cases, it represents a single corporation. So so we don't know what it really all. Now, this is just in the United States. Okay, when we get over to foreign countries, there's all different kinds of different business designations, which we'll see in a minute. So what we want to refer to these things is we want to say, in her case, in Bridget Dahlgren's case, and we want to put down the phrase capitalized meaning not defined herein, has the meaning as defined within the terms and conditions of the agreements to and into which capitalized name is incorporated. And you can fit all that in this line here. So you see what we're doing here. What we're saying here is we're saying, okay, that this all capitalized name is the company. It's the conveying party. But what it is known and unknown because it's everything. And the statement that you're reading here is a statement. I didn't make that up. This statement comes directly out of their documents. Within their agreements, it states, in almost all of them, it states the same thing. That, well, the capitalized meaning not defined, what I just read to you here. So we want to use that same thing. So if you can go ahead and add and go to the next screen, Bridget, please.
Add and go to next screen.
Yes. Okay. Well, where did it go?
It doesn't like you. It has to have a date.
Oh, date of execution. Okay, yeah. Just put today's date in.
Let's see. July.
No. Zero. You got to put the format as zero.
Oh, that's right. I like to do it that way. I'm just kidding.
They don't.
I know. And then today is 08 and then 2020. Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Add and go to the next screen. Okay, receiving party. Now, who's going to be the receiving party here? Now, so here's what we have. We have a situation here where we've been separated from our all capitalized name. They're using our all capitalized name as corporations, all these different entities, and of course they're forging our name to these things. Now, within a patent, within the arrangement of patents, okay, every patent that it operates, every one of these patents that you read, it's all based on the same premise. The premise is this: you start with the subject. In this case, is our all capitalized name. Okay, that they're using the collateral from, and then the patent is a scenario that does some kind of future forecast or some kind of process. Okay, I'll use Merrill Lynch for an example. Merrill Lynch, they took our assets in as assets and the collateral value of assets. And the purpose of one of their patents, one I'm thinking of in particular, is to separate and create separately managed accounts separate from that all capitalized name. So what are they doing? They started with our collateral, our credit, our capital, our value, and what have they done? They separated us from it. Okay, so what they're doing here is they're saying, okay, the assigner, Kenneth W. Doss, all caps, is the subject of this patent. He's the grantor of this patent. He's the co-inventor of this patent. And through this particular assignment agreement, he is assigning everything away to Merrill Lynch, to Ocwen, to HSBC, to whomever. Okay, so the whole premise of every one of these patents is that we're the assigner. Now, why are we the co-inventor? We're the co-inventor of these things. Why? Why do you think we're the co-inventor? Anybody? Why are we the co-inventor? Because we're the ones that are putting up the value. It's not our patent. We don't own the patent, but we have ownership and patent rights, do we not? Because we're the investor in this patent. We're providing the collateral for this patent. We're the capital for this patent. So we're the co-inventor, which means that we have rights in this patent. But what they've done is because they've stolen our identity, they're assigning it off to themselves and away from us. So when we come to the receiving party, who do we want to assign it back to? We want to assign it back to us, don't we?
The grantor. The grantor.
Right. We want to assign it back to the grantor, and who's not really the grantee, or in this case, the assignee. So you're going to go ahead and fill out individual and put your name into the upper lowercase, Bridget. Now you don't want to put.
Wrong one.
Yeah, wrong one.
Yeah.
That's right there. Yeah,
anyway,
right there.
yeah. Here, I'll just do this.
Yeah, because I see that. Yeah, because Go down to the,
It doesn't want to click
no,
that. It wants
I
to
know
go to
it,
company.
yeah, it does, it does at times.
Yeah, so
No,
I have to hand put it in. All
yeah,
right.
hand put it in, because I want to go to the next step on this thing. Now, now in patents, it only takes the all uppercase.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, it doesn't delineate between the upper lowercase and patents. And that's okay. Now on this, you don't want to put on this. This is an assignment, okay? This is not a merger. This is an assignment. So you do not want to put your middle name in there, i.e. the birth certificate. And as a matter of fact, you don't want to mention it. We don't want to mention anything about the birth certificate and any of the stuff we're doing here. And the reason for that is we've got to kill off the derivative. We've got to take charge of the derivative, which is that middle initial. Okay. Once we do that, then by the operation of law, everything, all original title goes back to the original title holder, which is us, and that certificate of live birth. So we want to use a derivative name here. Okay, go ahead and click add and go to the next screen. Okay, let's.
You should
let's
probably tell people how you find a patent in a company that you would be listed under.
Well, we kind of did that. We kind of did that in that lesson. I don't know if it was last week's lesson or the lesson before when we walked through.
Well, but yeah, but my process was different because I didn't have any debt, I didn't have any loans, I didn't have a mortgage, so I couldn't specifically look at something I had because I pay cash for everything. So I had to look for who I was under, a different way. And so I used my QSIB number on my Social Security card to find companies that were trafficking me, and like 3,000 came up. And then I was able to track them to trademarks, and then I could track them to patents, and then Kim helped me with the patent to find the specific ones. Yeah, because you have to have the number.
You into the trademark. We got to do a patent one yet. But we did kind of go through that. If you go back to a couple lessons ago, I did walk you through the links for finding the patents and the assignment and the agreements there too. So you got to look back on that one. And if we want to add another class, we can add another class next week, and we'll go through that in detail again. Okay, more details. So how.
But if you want to be more accurate, specifically finding them that belong to you, that you're actually specifically in.
Well, and here's the thing with patents, okay? And this is it's not really a conundrum. It's kind of a plus actually. It's hard. We're part of this collective membership, okay? So we're constantly being borrowed from, okay? Constantly. And they've been doing this not just for the past 20 years, but for decades. Okay, so the natural observation from that, I guess, would be, well, wait a minute. If you've been borrowing from me, see, we're under the impression that we're debt slaves. We got to get past that. We got to get rid of that shit. That's defeatist. Okay, that's not true. We're not debt slaves. They've set us up to make us believe we're debt slaves. We're not debt slaves. Okay, we are the capital, the collateral value, the credit value, the secured party creditor, principal of all these things in this collective membership that they've been borrowing from decades. So we're not a debt slave. We have security interest in the United States corporation and all agencies there too. Okay, and we have never ever have we taken any kind of we've never gotten any receipt, any interest from those borrowings, have we? This is the way we have to think. Okay, because this is the way it actually is. We've got to get rid of that debt slave mentality. It's defeatist and it's not getting us anywhere, and it's not true either. Okay, we got to get down to the actual facts. And the actual facts is that we're part of this collective membership that we've been borrowing from forever. So when you talk about patents and trademarks, we're in thousands and thousands of patents and trademarks. We may not be in this one, but we're in these other 10. You know what I'm saying? So, but if we're talking about a lender, hold on a second. If we're talking about a lender, then we can't pick out certain ones. Let's put a number in. I got a number right here, just so we could walk this further along.
Well, I'll put one. Or you want to put in that one? Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I've got 5 of them here that I need to do with my patents, so we can.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Do it.
This one's a JP Morgan one because I'm being trafficked by JP Morgan, and okay, and then I'm just going to add and go to next screen.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, add and go to next screen. Let's just do one as an example.
Okay.
Now it'll automatically find that. Okay, it didn't find that. Okay, go back. It didn't pick that filing. Put US in front of it.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't think you got enough numbers there. I don't think you've got enough numbers
Well,
there.
it
Okay, let's
says
put one.
seven,
Let's put one that I have.
okay.
Well, go ahead. Put a US in front of yours and see if it's US. I think it's.
Okay,
I think yeah.
because I think it's the patent numbers that we looked up were, let me see if US makes a difference. Okay, let me see.
I think you're missing a number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's see.
There it is. Okay, page down.
Oh yeah, there you go. I got it.
Page down.
I picked it up.
Page down.
There you go.
Okay, so right there. So there's the property. So it picked up that patent. So that whatever the patent, the JP Morgan Chase's patent that she has, that's it. Okay, go ahead and put next screen now.
Okay, next screen.
Next screen.
Hmm.
Okay, now here's where you're going to attach the document. Okay, so the document that you're going to attach, and I think, did I attach them? I don't think I did. I apologize. I did not attach the documents that were that I concocted to submit. But this is where you're going to attach your filing. Okay, so this is going to be your patent assignment, and we're not going to attach it here because we don't have anything to file right now. But this is where you attach it. So when you get your PDF together, in my case, in the one that I filed, I have mine was my particular patent one was I think it was a patent one, had 100-some pages to it, but I attached everything to it. I didn't attach all the patents, but I attached all the things I've done to all my rescissions and all these things that I did over the course of the past decade, because I wanted to be on public record. Okay, but you don't need to file all that stuff. Really, all you really need here is you just need to file that assignment, which is a 4-page assignment. Okay, so when you have that, you go ahead and attach the file, and this is as far as we can go right now with this thing.
Yeah.
And then the next step after this, after you attach the file, it'll attach the file, and then you move on to the next step. It'll bring up a cover sheet to ask you to verify it, and then it'll ask you to sign it. Okay. Now when you sign these things, you're going to sign it as a submitter, and you're going to put a signature on it. Now the electronic signature keyword is electronic signature. Electronic digital signature puts you into the system. Okay, that you cannot get into by putting a paper document in. Is done by what is it, / I guess it would be / Kenneth W. Doss / So my signature that from the living individual that identifies with this particular property is signed for, is taken ownership of between the / marks. So you put that in, you hit the next step will ask you to verify that, the next step you pay for. Oh no, in the patents you don't pay for it at all.
Yeah, patent is
there's no fee in
free.
patents. And then it's submitted. And that's it. That's the process, ladies and gents. It's a very simple process. Well, how'd you think it was? It's simple, wasn't it?
Yeah, the trademarks were super simple, except for that one you have to pay for. So I haven't done the patent one, but I'll have Ken help me with that sooner or later here. But it's all good.
Yeah, but it's the same process. Now go to if you want. I guess we got a little time here yet, don't we? Or what time is it?
We got about 10 minutes.
Okay, let's go through, pull up the other links for the trademark. Let's walk through the trademark.
Okay, hold on a second. Might be this second one here.
That's correct. That's that one. And really, it's the same thing, guys. It's not much different at all. If we just we'll walk through it though, so that we can so I can show you that it is the same, and it is simple. It's not complicated. Okay. Oh, I know what I want you to do. Go ahead, go page down. Let's walk through something here. I want to show you something very important here that you need to see. Page down to the start. Click here to access e-task forms. Okay, click help instructions. See up there at the top? Go up. No, go up to the top. Page up a little bit. Within that blue box where it says in the blue box guidelines, down further. That right there. Okay, I want to show you something here. This is something that you need to see. You need to and I think when you see it, you'll get, oh, okay, I get it. You should have a separate box that came up. That you need a separate window that came up. So if you can shift to that one or share that box that came up.
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me see why it's not sharing it. It should be sharing it. Hold on a second. Let me go back here.
Okay. Well, it's because it opened a separate window. That's why.
Hold on one second here.
Okay.
And Here, let me, hold on a second. Let me shift over and let me
Okay,
go
because
over.
okay, there's
Yeah,
something very important I want you to see in here, and I talked about it
here we
before.
go.
I want to show it to you.
Okay,
Okay, now this is like a definition section. Page down, if you would. Just page down until I tell you to stop. I'm gonna find what's at here. I don't know how far down it is. Keep going, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Almost there. Keep going. Okay, stop right there. Okay, stop right there. Stop. Stop. See what it says individual? Oh, you went too far.
hold
You
on.
gotta go
Let me
back.
go back up.
Right
Entity
there.
type. Okay.
Stop right there. Up. Where'd it go now? You want to go down to up, down a little bit, or up? I'm sorry, up, up.
There it is,
A
individual.
little bit. Stop. Right. Up a little bit more. Okay. Stop. See what it says individual. Okay. See what it says in the I guess the second sentence. When recorded, the individual's name is stored in the assignment historical database. What does that mean? And look at the format for it. Last name, first name, middle name, or initial. And what is it? Upper, lower case. What does that mean? What does that mean? Anybody? What does that mean? What does that do for us by doing that? Liz
It means
knows.
that it makes you who you originally are, your birth name.
It
I mean,
no.
you're
It gives you,
originating.
well, no, well, yes and no. But what it does is it gives you existence.
Oh,
Now
that's
you
right.
have
That's right.
now you have existence. We're
I
not
wanted to say
we're
that.
not I know you were. We're not dead, ladies and gentlemen. We're considered non-humans. Okay, that all capitalized names are non-human, and because we never that was created by our parents at birth, right? And replicated with it, created to the birth certificate of birth, right? And we were supposed to claim it at 18, right? We were supposed to come forward and do this assignment so that we entered ourselves into the authorized or assignment historical database so that we have existence, so that we claim that all capitalized name. But because we never did that, we've gone through our adult life and most of our life as a non-human who has no existence. Now, when you go to go back to Summa Theology and our creation, God created us in body and soul, right? Well, what did they do? They separated our soul from us because we were too young. When we were born, we were peeing and pooping. We had no cognition of soul or anything of that nature. And so they separated that from us in the form of an all capitalized name, in the form of a non-human, okay? And it's been that way ever since. So when they file a lawsuit against you, what they're doing is they're checking with the authorized historical database to make sure that you haven't claimed that name. Because once you claim that name, what have you done? You've eliminated. Now you have your common law protections. Well, you do and you don't because you gotta. No, when you enter in this database, you do because you eliminate all those things. So what have you done now? So by doing this, you've given yourself existence, and that's what we want. We want existence in the system. Somebody said, Ken.
Yeah. I'll try to interrupt you very short because soul is a homophone. It's the same sound as your footprint of the under your foot, the sole. So that's you gave yourself imprint in their world. You stepped in their world, right? So that's kind of a joke.
Yes, no, it's not. That's not a joke. That's actually very true. I'll tell you one thing. One of the areas where they invest us in, believe it or not, is shoe companies, shoe manufacturers. Why? For the very reason that you just said.
Well, sure, of course.
And
you should be keen about listening to words because when they say you, it's like the sheep mother. It's a you. So when they talk about you, they name you a sheep. So
yes.
if you're not careful enough and to connect your different aspects, it's like your metaphysical, your physical, and your thinking capacity. It's like the three sides of you. That's the Trinity joke.
Yes, absolutely, and that's really what this comes down to. So at the end of the day, taking it one step further to go into what you're saying is what you're doing is at that point. Then after this assignment, you do a merger. So you merge everything together. So body and soul are merged together. Right now, what they've got to separate it, don't they? Upper, lower case, and then from and the uppercase. So what we want to do when we merge it, we want to merge those two names together so that this is under international WIPO law, which is pertinent to all of us, is last name first, but it's all capitalized. So in other words, Doss, all capitalized, comma, Kenneth, upper lower case. What does that mean? that means that I've merged myself, body and soul. I'm truly indivisible now. There's no way that anybody can put division between me now. And that's the ultimate place that we want to get to. And that would be after this assignment, we would do a merger. But yeah, he's absolutely right. I mean, this all comes down to body and soul, everything, all this stuff. It's all built on the metaphysics of this.
That was all, nothing more.
Okay.
So I was just thinking about how funny this could actually be, because, you know, you could have them, you know, people wanting to take something that, you know, belongs to you or whatever else, or whatever they're looking up, or they want to file a lawsuit, or they want to, you know, keep your money or whatever it's going to be. And then they go in and they look up the assignment historical database and they find out, oh, holy crapola. This person actually is a living person, and
yes.
And oh crapola.
And
then they barf on them. Then they barf on themselves. They're like, what?
Yes, and
no.
That's the importance of doing what we got to do here. We can't do any. I mean, this has to be done here. There's no other place that this can be done. Maybe 20 years ago it could have been done a different way, but the central database for everything. And you got to remember, this is all automated, right? It's all patented. It's all automated. It all stems out of the hub of patents and trademarks. This is where it begins, and this is where we have to stop it. So this is why we want to do these things. Now, in my case, you know, if you're I'm sure you're familiar with what happened to us a couple of weeks ago with getting a document from attorneys, you know, who weren't aware that I had submitted documents on file awaiting registration, public recording on the Patents and Trademarks Office, who filed against us and basically threatened us through a sheriff. But we learned that they did not file it with the court. They can't file it with the court. They can't file a court case against us. Why? Because what I've done here already, that's recorded, where I've already put myself into the assignment historical database. So I've given myself existence here. This is what we all need to do. This is the first step that everybody needs to do. So it's saying that, you're basically saying, I am the living, I am, that all capitalized name belongs to a living individual, and I did not give permission, my written permission, for them to use my name in connection with the goods, products, patent services of another. And that's what we're doing. And by doing that, we basically kick ourselves out of the system and now we have control of ourselves again. Now, how is this going to play out? That's a good question. You know, this is kind of a work in progress here, where we're going with these things and how these things are going to resolve. Now, what we're doing here, it's incumbent upon patents and trademarks to correct for free, really, the affected errors. Now, what is an affected error? Affected errors, of course, that's a nice term for saying fraud, right? So they're required to correct these things, and because we're basically condensing it, we're taking back everything, taking claim to everything. That includes bringing back from all of the foreign entities that we've been taken to, like Luxembourg and England, and so on and so forth. So everything has to go through customs at this point in time. Which then becomes incumbent upon Treasury to do a full and complete audit. This is not a full and complete audit that people are getting with these forensic audits. This is a whole different audit. This audit will get into patents and trademarks, which is where we need to get them into, because I think once authorities get within doing audits on patents and trademarks, I think you're going to see the shit hit the fan. And I think that's when I think you're going to see a lot of attorneys and a lot of people going to prison, because the problem is right now nobody's auditing these things. And the only way that they can audit these things is if the people that own these things, which is you and I, actually take control of these things and give the proper authorizations for them to allow these audits to take place. So this is where this is where we got to be. And what's going to happen here now is we got to, I don't want to say, I'll probably get crucified by saying this legally at some point in time, we want to destroy the trademarks of these bastard attorneys and Ocwen. We want to destroy their trademarks. Now, what they would like us to do is people who find this thing out, because this is the remedy for this thing, they would like us to kind of like tap the guy and just tap that Ocwen asshole on the shoulder and say, excuse me, you're in my seat. Can you get out of my seat now so I can take my seat? And so we take our seat, we go on happily, merrily ever after, and these guys don't pay these guys have no reparations for what they've done. Bullshit. We're not going to do that. I don't want to do that. It's more like, no, I never gave permission for this stuff. My my excusable non-use for these marks was that these guys impersonated me. And because they impersonate me, I'm terminating everything. And when we do that, it automatically what we're doing is we're calling the hedge, and everything has to revert back to us. So this is what in I guess the secured party creditor world would be revesting back into us. And that's exactly what's happening here. So all those processes that the secured party creditors were doing 20 years ago that may have worked then, if they did at all, that certainly definitely will not work at all now, is all down into this electronic system here.
And that the other thing too, just wanted to throw out there really quick, is that when I was doing this process and I was looking at their trademarks and patents, of the companies where I was being, that I clearly could define that they were using me, right, in their stuff. It was always, you could see in the copies and trademarks and patents that they would have an area that they would be talking to the shareholder or the grantor. There's always a clause in every single one of them that says the grantor needs to contact us in a paper way to, get paid, to define if there's a problem, they have to let us know so that we can make retribution towards that. So they all have these little clauses in there in every single one of them that protects you, even though you don't use it, in order to get back what they've generated off of you.
Right. Now there's a couple of things I haven't quite figured out yet. I almost got figured out, but we've got this idea that we're the guarantor of everything. Okay. And that this is what makes us a debt slave, really. This is where we get the concept of being a debt slave. Now, there's, it's going to sound kind of odd, but it really isn't if you understand the metaphysics behind it. There is a particular agreements on here that are called guarantor agreements or guarantee agreements. And if you go through those links I showed you a couple weeks ago, and in the conveyance, you type in guarantor or guarantee agreement, and they'll pull all these agreements up. And the ones that come up is one agreement there with GM Technologies, okay? And there's about 30 different companies that are attached to it. Like Archipelago LLC is the one that comes to mind. All kinds of other ones. Ascension is another one. So there's all these LLCs attached to it. And if you read through that agreement, it describes how we're the guarantor of these things, and that to settle all accounts and to kill off the guarantor is to file a copy of that particular security agreement. I don't know if it's with Treasury or GM, I think it's with GM Technologies, but not with them, but it's with their correspondence. So that's another way that we're going to be curing these things as well. So we got a lot of different ways to cure these things within this system, but we've got to start looking at these things, because this is where this is the central hub where everything is operating out of. These are the things that we were never told about, that they never wanted us to know about, and that they tried to keep hidden from us by deceptions and lies. And so these are the things I'm hoping that this all makes sense to you, at least to where, basically makes sense to you. I understand that the metaphysics behind it are hard to comprehend. And I understand that it's hard to comprehend the idea of having value to your name. But I mean, there's no question about it. It's true, it exists. If you don't understand it, then you've got to spend some time either listening to what I've talked about and go through it yourself. But when you do this stuff, don't study it like you're studying for a math exam or anything like that. I think the easiest way to kind of get this stuff to kind of assimilate into your mind is to just briefly go through and scan things and just scan over things and then walk away from it. And your mind will figure it out. It will figure it out. Okay. But if you ponder on it, you try to force an understanding of that, I don't think you'll get it. I think you kind of got to plant the seed within your mind and then just go about your normal routine and let your mind figure it out. And then come back to it every now and then. Your mind will figure it out. I mean, Bridget, am I right or am I wrong? I mean, you tell me. Or Liz can tell me. Liz is good. Liz, what do you think? Is that correct?
Well, it absolutely takes time. Everybody's going to do it at their own rate, but it's like anything else when you're figuring out a puzzle or a problem. You look it over and it doesn't make sense right away, but eventually you get it clicks somewhere, somehow. And I remember going through a lot of different aha moments, and they weren't always really clear, where sometimes something will pop into your head and you say, oh, now I get it. Well, all of my aha moments weren't like that. Sometimes they were very subtle.
Right, but you get them, and then some moments are real big. Some moments are just, oh, I get it now. 'Cause I remember talking to you a couple of times where it's like, oh my God, I see. Oh God, you start cussing them out, because you see it. Because once you get it, you get it, and and that's the whole thing. It does take effort, but if you have any desire or want to be free and obtain our freedoms and liberties, you got to go this process. You have no choice because it's nowhere else.
I just want to add one thing. When you're finally getting it, doesn't mean you have to be at that level of skill where you teach it to somebody. You just have to know intuitively when you see something or you're reading that you get it, that, oh, this makes sense to me. I mean, do you remember, Ken, when we first started discussing these things so many times, you would say something and I would say, I don't know why, but that makes sense to me. And sometimes that's the way it comes.
Yeah. I mean, some people have come to me and said, well, I go, Sandy Smith. I think she was on here. When she first found me, she said, well, when she first heard me, she goes, well, I didn't know what the hell you were talking about, but something inside me told me that you were on the right path. So the intuition kind of led her to me, and I'm glad for that. So all I can do is try to capture people's ear. But once I do that, though, it's really your responsibility, each individual's responsibility to really kind of understand this stuff. I'm trying to just do the best I can, the best I know how, to try to get people to understand this, or to capture the ear enough for them to go further into this thing. Because you have to understand it yourself. You have to stand on it. But I'll tell you one thing, it is quite empowering, because once you realize what's really going on here, and you realize that the whole system is founded on bullshit, founded on deception and lies, how can anybody come back and prosecute you and come back on you on something? They really can't, can they? I mean, they can't. There's no way they can. I mean, it's just when the system is crooked and corrupt, and that you have all this energy, and that you are the energy that drives the system. It's really hard to overturn those things. Now we're at the point of, okay, now we got to enforce them. So that's the stage we're at now. So I think with that, unless there's anything else, I think we're good for today.
Yep.
Bridget?
Yep, I'm here. I think we're good, and we'll call it a day. And then next week is where we're gonna pull it all together.
Yeah, we'll do that. And like I said, I'll go back through what I showed you today is the golden nugget. Okay, this is the golden nugget. This is where everybody wants to be submitting documents through. Is through here. And then as far as find the paths and everything, go back to the couple of classes prior to that where we talked about it. And next week we'll go ahead and we'll bring it all together and kind of pull this whole thing together. And hopefully from there we can start moving forward and getting people going through the system and start taking back this country and this world. It's got to be taken back.
Amen.
Amen. All righty, I guess that's it then. Anybody got any questions, comments, anything? Okay.